Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Jack Woods, also known as Woods Media down below. Today I'm going to challenge myself by trying to get 7 cinematic shots only using one light. To keep it a wee bit interesting, I'm going to change up the light source. So not everyone's going to have access to a big massive key light or, RGB tube lights or even maybe any artificial lights. So I'm also going to use natural light for one of the shots. Hopefully you enjoy it, so let's get stuck in. So shot number 1, this is where we used the natural light, so I'm stripping it back to the basics here. So no RGB lights or artificial lights were used in this. This was purely just natural light coming in from the window. So what I done was I sat myself close enough to the edge of the sort of bed, close to the window, to allow as much natural light to hit my face as I could. Now I didn't want to be washed out and blow the highlights, so the curtain just over my sort of right shoulder there. So I pulled that across to give me a wee bit of contrast on the back of myself. With the front of me, I made sure that I was almost sort of sitting like at a 45-degree angle from the window, treating it like a key light. And then I noticed with the left side of my face, the closest to the camera, I wasn't getting enough sort of, light on it. Now obviously we want to keep it dark and contrasty for those cinematic shots. So what I ended up doing was actually just using one of my pillows. I had it angled up towards my face, which allowed some of the light to just sort of bounce off that and fill in nicely for the rest of my face. So yeah, nothing too, crazy or particular in this one, just using all natural light. So for shot number 2, this is where we introduced artificial lights. So I brought in the RGB, I think it's ambient full A2 tube light. So these are amazing, they're magnetic, the battery life is incredible, and it's just so easy because you can control it with the app on your phone. So whenever you're solo filming like me, it's just much easier where I can sort of see myself on the iPad and then I can just tailor, brightness, color, whatever it may be, just through the app on the phone. So yeah, really good. But anyway, not sponsored. So what I done with this was I replicated almost just like, how a mirror light sometimes can be, where it's just sat above it and it points down. It's almost not a spotlight, but it's, it's almost like an overhead light essentially. So what I done was I placed the wee tube light just on top of the mirror, and then I faced it more like straight down rather than angling out, just because I wanted to create as little spill onto the background as much as possible, just so that it kept it, quite dark and moody. Now, the only problem I had during it was daytime. I didn't want any of the natural light just coming in from the windows. So what I actually had to do was get a C-stand and then just drape a sheet over it, and just to darken the windows so that no light was coming through them. So yeah, this is how that shot sort of turned out. Shot number 3 then, I moved on into the kitchen. So for this one, I wanted to create like a morning shot, where you're drinking your coffee or your tea, looking out the window, just reflecting back, whatnot, So to create this shot, I had my New Year light sitting at a 45-degree angle outside, and I was shining it in through the windows, and it just created a nice sort of almost key light. Now, if you wanted to, you could add a diffuser on in front of it just to really soften the light. I didn't, unfortunately, just because it was really windy, so my diffuser would have been flown about like nothing. So I ended up just having it as normal. But what I also had to do and found a problem with was the natural light was coming in front of me from the window. I wanted to darken that out so that I wasn't getting such a blown out highlighted face. So what I done was I got the C-stand with the black sheet draped over, and it just darkened out the windows, allowing the New Year light that I had pointing in do all the work. I did also want a wee bit more contrast just on the left side of my face. So what I did was I brought in my, I have like a reflector, and I had it on the black side of it. So again, it was just bringing in more contrast to the left side of my face. So shot number 4, this time I brought in the Ambient Full A2 Pros. So these are the bigger version, I believe. So this is, I think it's around 60 centimeters. Again, not too sure. I think it goes 30, 60, 90. So these are the 60 ones. So all I did on this was clamp it down with a small rig clamp and then attach it to a C-stand. So I put it up nice and high and just had it like a top-down light, and it just creates this real sort of really dark, mysterious sort of contrasted, look. And then obviously, of course, if you add a wee bit of haze or fog, it'll just make it even more cinematic, of course. So yeah, nothing too special on this one. I didn't need to bring any sort of reflectors, diffusers, or anything like that. Just one light above my head, well, a wee bit of fog and smoke. So for shot number 5 now, I know not everyone's going to have one of these, but I did use my bones mount adapter and I put it on my newer light. What this allows you to do is it comes with like wee little metal discs, and I don't know if you can really see this, but they are like wee metal discs with like wee cutouts on them. I block out my face. And what this allows you to do is create like unique designs and create texture within a shot. So what I done was I picked a window cutout and I put that in the wee bones mount. I put it angled down on the floor, almost as if like, you know, night light is coming in through the window. And yeah, just simply lay down. I then also had a wee bit of black diffusion on the right side of me, just to give a wee bit more darkness and contrast to the other side of my face. And yeah, and that was it. Just one light, nothing too complicated. It was almost like a spotlight just pointed down at me with one of those wee discs in it, and it just created that nice sort of texture. So for shot number 6, what I done was I used the same bones mount, but what you can do and what I used to do before getting one was if you get a mirror, and if you just put tape along the mirror, that will create the shape that you want. And if you just bounce a light off that, it'll cast that design that you've put on the mirror with tape, and it'll just be the same idea. And what I liked about this was I had it more sort of straight on from one side of my face. And then as you can see, as I was sort of sitting into it, you can see the light just sort of paints over me, if you know what I mean. It's giving you that heavy contrast of light and dark. You know, it's just really good to use that for creating those sort of tense moments. So for shot number 7 then, straightforward, all I did was have the same bones mount. Now you could do this with any light. You could just have your newer light or whatever key light you're using and just have a reflector cone on it and have it just sat right behind you, or just placed onto the wall, and then you stand in front of the light source. So your key light is behind you painting on the wall, and then you're in front of it. And what that does is it just creates like this silhouette. So as you can see, it's just a whole sort of silhouette of myself, and the light is on the background. And you can create that with any light. You don't necessarily need a bones mount. You could still do the same idea, what's called backlit, so where you could have the light source behind you, but it's pointing at the camera this time rather than the wall behind you. And then what that does is gives you a similar sort of effect where you're almost a silhouette, but it gives you this nice sort of glow. So I have used that a few times, especially on the most recent music video I done there. We used sort of car headlights to create that effect. Hopefully you enjoyed this video today and learned something from it. So what I want you to do, if you can, is go challenge yourself to create something cinematic just using one light, and let me know how you get on. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. Take care and stay safe.